20 seconds to go before the sighting lap of round 9 of the MotoGP World Championships here in the sunshine at the Sachsenring. What a front row. Max Biaggi, Jeremy McWilliams, Loris Capirossi and Valentino Rossi.
Second row, Sete Gibernau, Troy Bayliss, who's never been to this circuit before, Carlos Checa and Toru Ukawa.
Third row, Nobuatsu Aoki, Shinya Nakano, Alex Barros and Marco Melandri.
The fourth row, the World Superbike champion Colin Edwards, recovering from that scorching experience on the first day, Kenny Roberts, Nicky Hayden and Nori Kabe.
The fifth row, Noriyuka Haga, Olivier Jacques, Makoto Tamada and the Australian Gary McCoy.
And the sixth row, Alex Hoffman, John Hopkins, Ryuichi Kiyonari and Andrew Pitt.
And David De Gea completing the seventh row, riding that 10-year-old 500cc Yamaha. Just look how tight and twisted it is for these MotoGP machines as they plunge down that right-hander at the end of the start and finish straight. 125,000 fans packing every vantage point of this Sachsenring circuit. It's round 9 of the championship. We've seen a great 125cc race, even closer 250cc race. What is going to happen in these next 30 laps?
Great shot of the circuit there. You can see the amount of people packed in, and you can see how narrow the track is. And Gav grunts of the four-strokes down there in pit lane.
Yeah, they've just got all the spare bikes ready here in pit lane. Just to tell you about conditions, it's still windy up here. We're at the top of a hill here at Sachsenring. They dip down into the hill through those section of curves the first time round, then come back up to one of the most frightful corners in MotoGP. That's turn 12, and they really fire down that one there and come back up the hill again. About 100-metre drop throughout the whole track. 34 degrees temperature, 46 is the track temperature here, so that's another thing they've got to contend with. A lot of left-handers here, so they're going to have to watch out and probably running a dual compound on that left-hand side of the tyres.
The riders make their way back to the start and finish. This is going to be round 9 of the MotoGP World Championship. Valentino Rossi leads the way on 167. Sete Gibernau on 133. Max Biaggi, the man on fire, on 130. Red flag being shown. Perfect conditions here at the Sachsenring. A little bit of wind coming in behind the riders. This is a frightening short shift before they dive into that right-hander, and then the race really will be underway. What a front row we have here at the Sachsenring. Max Biaggi, the Ulsterman Jeremy McWilliams, Loris Capirossi on the Ducati, and the world champion, the championship leader, the winner of the race here last year, it's Valentino Rossi. We look to the lights to go to red. The lights are on red. Round 9 is underway. Good start by Biaggi. Good start by Capirossi. Good start by Rossi.
Superb start from Troy Bayliss as well from the second row as we watch Alex Barros come up around the outside, but I think that's Rossi into the first corner, taking the lead from the outside of the front row, and he's being chased by the two Ducatis.
Two Ducatis, great starts, but Valentino Rossi from the front row of the grid has made a great start. He might have been 4th fastest during qualifying, but the world champion leads the way. Rossi leads, hounded by those two all-red Ducatis of Loris Capirossi and Troy Bayliss.
Jeremy McWilliams getting swallowed up by that surge of four-strokes, but he's in around 7th place. We'll wait for confirmation of that, but there is Rossi leading from the two Ducatis, Loris Capirossi and Troy Bayliss. Ducati have never been to this circuit before this weekend. Troy Bayliss had never been to this circuit before this weekend. Capirossi missed the race last weekend, but they're up there in the top 3 on lap 1. There is McWilliams in 6th place. Marco Melandri has made a good start as well, up to 5th.
Max Biaggi, bad start from pole position. Max Biaggi currently down in 8th place. Here comes Sete Gibernau up the inside of Troy Bayliss. Gibernau has gone through. Yes, he has. Sete Gibernau is after Loris Capirossi in front of him. Valentino Rossi still leads the way.
Up through this sweeping left-hander then and into the start-finish straight for the first time. Loris Capirossi in 2nd place, but Rossi completes the first lap as the race leader. Rossi first, Capirossi second, Gibernau third, Melandri fourth now, taking the advantage from Bayliss at the end of the straight. McWilliams hanging on to sixth, or did he? I think Ukawa got past McWilliams there at the end of the straight, powering past him on that four-stroke Honda. In fact, he did. So Ukawa is now up to sixth, and McWilliams drops back down to seventh.
And Max Biaggi down in 10th place from pole position. What a disappointment.
And I tell you what, Olivier Jacques from 18th on the grid has stormed all the way through to 8th position after one lap. An absolutely storming ride from Olivier Jacques, who started on pole position here last year and led the race until almost the last couple of laps when he was skittled off the track by his current teammate Alex Barros.
There's Troy Bayliss, Toru Ukawa, Jeremy McWilliams hanging in there on the two-stroke Proton, but Valentino Rossi still leads the way. 1.5 laps gone here in the sunshine at the Sachsenring. Rossi, Capirossi, Gibernau, Marco Melandri. He's won the 250cc race here for the last 2 years. Down the dip, up towards the left-hander. They break second gear. There's Max Biaggi. He will be bitterly disappointed by that performance. Shinya Nakano, Nobuatsu Aoki go through, but Rossi, Capirossi, Gibernau, Melandri, Bayliss, Ukawa, Jacques, Aoki, Biaggi and Checker. They cross the line, 28 laps to go.
There's Naoki, Nobuatsu Aoki rather, getting past Nicky Hayden. That was for 12th place, but Rossi leading the way still. Bayliss there trying to close the gap on Melandri at the end of the straight, slipping and sliding around with that Ducati. But Olivier Jacques, there he is, that number 19 Yamaha, the blue Go Yamaha in front of Max Biaggi. What an incredible start that was from him. 18th place on the grid. And Gav, down in pit lane, you didn't spot a false start there from Jacques, did you?
No, not this time. I'm not sure about it, though. I was looking more at the front row, seeing what happened to McWilliams. He really did get swallowed up by those four strokes, but seems to be holding his own, as we would expect, through the curvy section here. Most of the track are just tight bends, a big, long left-hand section as well, and that's where McWilliams does have the advantage. But you can see down the straight, the four strokes just putting so much pressure on him, and Olivier Jacques will be one of those soon.
Sete Gibernau putting real pressure now on Loris Capirossi. He knows Valentino Rossi's escaped at the front, and he wants to get past him and set after him. There we are, look. Loris Capirossi coming under real pressure from Sete Gibernau and Marco Melandri. Down the dip they go. They break for the left-hander. Melandri up the inside. Oh, Marco Melandri has gone through. Marco Melandri has taken over second place. He's swallowed up Sete Gibernau, and he has swallowed up Loris Capirossi. Great ride as Gibernau goes up the inside of Melandri. So Sete Gibernau up into second place. Gibernau second, Melandri third, Capirossi 5, and Bayliss in 5th place.
Side by side as they come down the straight, Melandri gets the inside line into the right-hander. Up on the inside of Sete Gibernau comes Marco Melandri, the 250cc world champion, and Melandri snatches back second place from Gibernau. Capirossi coming under pressure from his teammate Troy Bayliss for 4th. What a ride from Marco Melandri. Well, he took his first ever 250cc win at this circuit before going on to take the title 1 year later, and it really is proving to be a talismanic circuit for the young Italian.
But look at that gap at the front. 26.5 laps to go. Valentino Rossi leads by a country mile. Marco Melandri in second place. Sete Gibernau third. Then the two Ducatis. They're coming under pressure from Toru Ukawa, Jeremy McWilliams, and we say Max Biaggi from pole position, and Gibernau has got past Melandri. Sete Gibernau up into second place. Marco Melandri has been relegated to third. And while these men battle it out for second place, Valentino Rossi is just waving goodbye at the front and saying, thank you very much.
Max Biaggi, meanwhile, is making progress through the field. He's got past Olivier Jacques. Biaggi is now up to 8th place, and he's got McWilliams in front of him in 7th. So as Gav was rightly explaining earlier on, the four-strokes have such an advantage down the straight as they come back towards it once more. Bayliss up on the inside of Capirossi, but Biaggi will have the advantage over McWilliams as they come into this straight. And in fact, he's got past him already. Biaggi is now up to 7th place behind his teammate Toru Ukawa and making progress.
26 laps to go. This is the race for second place. Gibernau, Melandri. Great all Ducati battle then between Bayliss and Capirossi. Ukawa, Biaggi, McWilliams, Checker, and Olivier Jacques now in 10th place. And Bayliss well in front now of Loris Capirossi and trying to chase after Marco Melandri. But you've got to say, Max Biaggi will be bitterly disappointed with that start from pole position.
He will be extremely disappointed, Nick. Of course, he was given victory at Donington 2 weeks ago, rather by default after Valentino Rossi was docked 10 seconds for overtaking under yellow flags. But it was Biaggi's first victory of the season. And then most of the MotoGP teams went to Brno in the Czech Republic last week for 2 days of tests. And Max Biaggi was the quickest rider there, beating Valentino Rossi with his lap time, so he was full of confidence coming into this weekend. He started from pole position. He's won here before on a Yamaha just 2 seasons ago as he was watching pass his teammate Toru Okawa. So the stage was really set for Max Biaggi this weekend to take his first real victory over Valentino Rossi, but it doesn't look as though it's going to happen because Rossi is splitting at the front and Biaggi is having all sorts of problems as he tries to fight his way through the field.
Troy Bayliss has got past Marco Melandri. Bayliss is absolutely flying now in 3rd place. So Bayliss in 3rd place. First look at the circuit here on Thursday morning. And the Australian, the former World Superbike champion, is he going to hang in there just? Great ride by Bayliss in 3rd place. Marco Melandri is relegated to 4th. Capirossi 5, Biaggi 6, Okawa 7, 8th is Checker, Olivier Jacques 9, and Jeremy McWilliams still doing sterling work on that 2-stroke in 10th place.
Well, there was smoke coming from the rear tyre of Melandri then as he braked so late to try and get at the inside of Troy Bayliss. And he's all over the rear of him. Still a real battle here between the former World Superbike champion, 34 years of age, Troy Bayliss, and the 20-year-old 250cc world champion, Marco Melandri. And Melandri, of course, you may remember 2 weeks ago at Donington, he was lapping in 4th place. He made a start very similar to this one before crashing out. And there we can see Jeremy McWilliams, that number 99 Proton, losing ground to more 4-strokes as Shinya Nakano gets past him for 10th place.
And that's Nicky Hayden also in there with them, and he's going to get swallowed up, unfortunately, isn't he? That's the gap. There's Valentino Rossi, 2nd Sete Gibernau, 3rd Bayliss, 4th Marco Melandri. Here comes Max Biaggi on the charge. Gone past his countryman, not his great friend at the moment. A war of words between these two in the press. Loris Capirossi. Biaggi is flying, but unfortunately Biaggi has probably left it too late. Nicky Hayden's got past Jeremy McWilliams.
Yeah, Hayden past McWilliams into that series of left-handers that brings them up the hill and back into the straight. The riders file past us here. Rossi, Gibernau, Bayliss, Melandri, and then Biaggi closing down now on his countryman Marco Melandri. Biaggi, a former 250cc world champion. Melandri, the current 250cc world champion, following in the footsteps of the Roman Emperor and making a real impact in his first season in MotoGP. But Rossi now has around a 2-second gap already at the front after 6 laps of this 30-lap race.
Melandri and Biaggi fight it out. We ride with Max Biaggi. He's desperate to get past Marco Melandri, right behind him. This is the battle for 4th place. Biaggi starting from pole position. Made an appalling start. He was down in 10th place. He's having to fight his way back through the field. But he's come up against the tough men now. They're not going to let him through without a great fight. He's desperate to get past Melandri. But all the time, Rossi just increases the lead at the front. There's Gibernau, Bayliss, Melandri, and there is Max Biaggi just tucked in behind him. We ride with Max Biaggi down the dip. They're going to break now from about 170 miles an hour into the left-hander. Has Biaggi gone through? Yes, he has. Still no sign of Melandri around the outside. Biaggi moves up into 4th place, up the hill towards the left-hander, into the start and finish. Max Biaggi is on fire, but that bad start could cost him dear. When they cross the line, 22 laps remaining, Rossi leads Gibernau by 1.8 seconds.
Yeah, Gibernau just taking 0.2 of a second back off Rossi on that last lap. Bayliss was the quickest man though on the circuit on that lap. Bayliss clocking a 1:24.8 compared to the 1:25.4 by Rossi. So Bayliss taking 0.6 off the leader, 0.4 off the 2nd place Sete Gibernau. Gibernau riding well here, Nick. He's only finished as high as 8th here in his entire Grand Prix career, so it's not his favourite circuit at all. He started from the 2nd row of the grid, but he's riding extremely well there in 2nd place and starting now to cut down the gap to that leader, Valentino Rossi. That gap now standing at 1.8 seconds. It was 2 seconds on the previous lap.
You just have to look to see the gap is closing. Here is Sete Gibernau, winner of 3 Grand Prix already this season, 2nd in the World Championship. Bayliss having a great ride in 3rd place. His first look at the circuit was on Thursday. He really has performed well. It's that new random haircut he's got, I think, has made him go faster. He is flying, so is Gibernau. Little bit of a wobble from Gibernau, that very fast right-hander. Up the dip they come. Break for the left-hander. Bayliss. Biaggi closing on Bayliss. Behind Bayliss, Melandri, then Capirossi. Toru Okawa. Here's Olivier Jacques, who came from absolutely nowhere and is currently in 9th place. Could have won the race here last year. Got skittled at the first bend by Alex Barros. They were riding the two-strokes. They could have been the only two-stroke winners of the whole season. Barros tried to outbreak him, took him out. Valentino Rossi won the race. They're closing up.
Max Biaggi, Nick, with the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:24.6 there from the Italian. As you can see, the top left of your screen, that red helmet by the number 4 Biaggi, or rather position 4 Biaggi. There's a man down. That's one of the Aprilias. That's either Norrie Haga or Colin Edwards. And as we see him struggle across the gravel and across the track, much to the discontent of the marshals, it is Noriyuki Haga, and something of a high-speed drop there for Haga. But just going back to what I was saying before, Max Biaggi with a time of 1:24.6, the fastest lap of the race so far, taking around half a second off Bayliss in third, similar times to Gibernau and Rossi in front of him. So Biaggi absolutely storming now in 4th place.
We ride with Max Biaggi, the Roman Emperor, winner of the Donington Grand Prix after a few problems with yellow flags for Valentino Rossi. Man started for his 2nd successive pole position. It's a very important race for him psychologically. We have the summer break, albeit just 3 weeks. How he'd like to beat Rossi. He's got to get past Troy Bayliss. Bayliss won't make life easy for him, but Biaggi closes up round the left on the brakes. They've got a little short straight now, and then another uphill left-hander. We ride with Biaggi. That's Bayliss in front of him, closes up again into the start and finish area. The World Superbike, or former World Superbike champion, against the former 4 times 250cc World champion. And Gibernau is closing on Rossi at the front. Rossi leads, Gibernau 2nd, Bayliss 3rd, Biaggi 3rd. 21 laps to go. This is going to be one hell of a race.
Yeah, Biaggi again the fastest man on the circuit. That time not quite as fast as the previous lap. Biaggi this time with a 1:24.6. Rossi stepping up the pace a little bit. Rossi maybe getting a signal from his pit board that Biaggi was on his way, and he just cranked up the pace by about half a second. So Biaggi not able to take quite as much off the front 2 on that particular lap, but he's still the fastest man on the circuit, a 1:24.6. Rossi with a 1:24.9, Gibernau 1:24.9, Bayliss 1:25.1.
We ride with Biaggi again. That's the gap. It's just opened up a little bit. He had a real attack at Troy Bayliss. They go up the hill, round this series of left-handers. Then they have the very fast right. Then they go down the dip. And it's their left-hander after the dip that really is one of the favourite overtaking manoeuvres. Right, this is the right-hander. 4th gear, very fast, down the dip. Their heart comes into their mouth. Now they break here. He's not quite close enough this time, Biaggi. Bayliss hangs on to 3rd place, and it's a left-hander, then a little short straight, and then it's another uphill left-hander that brings them back into the start and finish area. Bayliss is having a fabulous ride in 3rd place because he hadn't seen this circuit before Thursday, never ridden here. Ducati's first appearance here, and he's holding on to 3rd place, and he's holding Max Biaggi at bay. Bayliss 3rd, Biaggi 4th. 20 laps to go. Rossi's lead at the front over Sete Gibernau, 1.495 seconds.
Yeah, Rossi and Gibernau setting similar times to what they did in the previous lap there, 1:24.9s, and Bayliss again in the low 1:25s, and so was Biaggi on that lap. As you can see on the camera, Biaggi not making any ground at all on Bayliss on that lap, so Biaggi just dropping his pace a little bit.
Well, he's a tough cookie, isn't he, Troy Bayliss? We've seen Valentino Rossi try to get past him, I think in Velcom in South Africa in particular. Got past him 1 or 2 times, he got him back. Bayliss doesn't give away ground easily, and Max Biaggi has had to work very hard to get past him. And in the meantime, of course, Valentino Rossi would be very happy with the situation. Rossi not been particularly happy all weekend. He's had a stinking cold. He's only qualified on the front row of the grid in 4th place, had tyre problems. Not his usual perky self, I wouldn't say, Friday and Saturday. But this morning, after the warm-up, he actually ran off the track this morning, had his first crash on Friday morning, but he's riding like the man we know he can ride like. He's leading the way. Sete Gibernau. Here comes Max Biaggi trying to ride around the outside of Troy Bayliss. Bayliss blocks his way. Well, Biaggi, we thought was going to go up the inside. He tried to ride around the outside. Biaggi is desperate to get through. 19 laps to go. They race down the start and finish straight. Break for the right-hander. Biaggi, you've got to try it all over again.
This time he does it up the inside of Troy Bayliss at the end of the straight into the tight right-hander. They almost touch as they come down this twisty section. They go left. Now they'll tip it right. There's only really one clean racing line down this section because it's so tight. Very difficult to overtake. Biaggi tried to get past Bayliss before they got into that section. He wasn't able to. And now, as they flick it left and they come round through this long left-hander, back down the hill and into the section. Huge crowd here, 125,000 people packed into this Sachsenring circuit. They've watched the first round, 8 rounds on television, and they couldn't resist. MotoGP is getting bigger all over the world, particularly in Germany, and testament to that is this monster crowd here at the Sachsenring today.
With Bayliss and Biaggi fighting, it's probably a good idea to just take a look at the tyre situation. We've got the 3 top Hondas, Rossi, Gibernau and Biaggi, all on medium fronts and medium rears. In fact, most of the Michelin riders are on those medium front tyres. But the interesting thing is that the 2 Ducatis of Loris Capirossi and Troy Bayliss, currently running in 3rd position, are both on soft rear tyres here at the Sachsenring. They've probably got dual compounds on because the left-hand side of the tyres take a real battering around that left-hand section. But just to let you know, Bayliss is on a softer tyre than Biaggi.
Well, we couldn't have got a better look, really, at Troy Bayliss' rear tyre as Biaggi thinks about trying to outbrake him, but Bayliss slides at Ducati. Is he running a little bit wide? No, he hasn't, but it might have been a bit wide, but it wasn't a big enough gap for Biaggi to go through.
Yeah,
and Biaggi really must be thinking, how can I get past this man? I want to get after Gibernau. Oh, perhaps he's gone through this time. As Bayliss running a little bit wide, will the red machine come back in front of him? No! Biaggi up into 3rd place. 17.5 laps to go. He's done it at last. Now, can he get after the men in front of him, Sete Gibernau and Valentino Rossi? And what has Bayliss got to say about it?
Well, he did well there the first time, didn't he, Bayliss? At the end of the straight, he ran wide, but he pulled it back in. And then the second time he ran wide, he wasn't able to do anything about it. Biaggi has been waiting for his chance to get past, and once it presented itself, he wasn't going to let it slip. And look at the position progression for Biaggi. He started from pole position. On the first lap, he was back down to 10th, but he's consistently fought his way through the field over the first 7 laps, and then now with 12 laps gone, and 18 still to go, he's got past Troy Bayliss and up to 3rd position.
Well, this is the man he's really got in his sights. There's a certain Sete Gibernau between them. But I can tell you, if Max Biaggi could catch him up, Valentino Rossi, and pass him, that really probably would be the most famous victory of his very illustrious career. 17 laps to go. We've almost forgotten about Sete Gibernau, but he slowly eats away those precious meters and yards, pulling back Valentino Rossi. The gap between them now just over 1 second, but Biaggi is in sight, isn't he, in 3rd place. For the first time during the race, you get a sight of Max Biaggi with those leading 2 riders. This promises to be one hell of a finish. 16.5 laps to go here at the Sachsenring. Not the favourite circuit of the riders. It's tight and twisty. It's a bit like a kart track, but they are putting on a fantastic show in the sunshine.
Yeah, I think this is a key lap, Nick, to see what pace Max Biaggi is capable of doing. He's being held up by Troy Bayliss over the last few laps, but he's got clear track in front of him now. Will he be able to pick up that rhythm that took him up to the back of Bayliss in the first place? It will be interesting to see, but he's gone down. Just as we're talking about it, Max Biaggi loses his Honda. Into the gravel he goes. Well, it turned out to be the key lap for a different reason to what we expected. Max Biaggi out of the race. He's not going to get back into it. And, well, the Pons team look on. This was the moment for Max Biaggi. This was the defining moment, possibly of the season, certainly of the race. Biaggi tossed into the gravel. Thankfully, he's back on his feet. But the German Grand Prix is all over for the Roman Emperor.
We ride with Max Biaggi. We're going to see it any moment now. The bike goes down. The onboard camera still stays on. Max Biaggi out of the race here at the Sachsenring. He just got into 3rd place. Perhaps he was going to mount a challenge onto Sete Gibernau and Valentino Rossi at the front. Right, it's down to a Spaniard by the name of Sete Gibernau to try and dent the pride of Valentino Rossi at the front. Troy Bayliss back on the podium in 3rd place.
Yeah, Bayliss slapping alone in 3rd, and he's got a gap of around 5.3 seconds between himself and Marco Melandri. There you can see it. Melandri 8.9 down on Rossi. Bayliss only 3.6, so just over 5 seconds between Bayliss and Melandri. And then another second from Melandri to Capirossi. What a ride from Marco Melandri that really is, hanging on there in 4th position. Melandri's teammate, Carlos Checa, who's been the highest Yamaha for the last 3 races, is down in 6th place. Jeremy McWilliams, just a word on him, he's down in 10th place on the 2-stroke Proton and holding off the 2 Go Yamahas of Alex Barros and Olivier Jacques.
Look at this gap, it's below 1 second now. Gibernau closing up. It was about 1.6, wasn't it, 3 or 4 laps ago. It's now 0.873 seconds. and you don't really have to look at the screen. You can see visually how close they are. Troy Bayliss, I think, well, perhaps we're saying for a lonely third place, but it would be a great third place. Behind them, though, the battle is on. This is Loris Capirossi. Capirossi coming under pressure from Toru Okawa. In front of him, Marco Melandri. They cross the line now, so it's Melandri, it's Capirossi, Checker, and Okawa. We're on board with Loris Capirossi. Just look how hard he has to work. A tiny Italian, absolutely wringing the neck of the Ducati, currently in 5th place. But it's his teammate, Troy Bayliss, on the podium in 3rd.
Capirossi had a big crash in the warm-up this morning. Well, I say warm-up, it couldn't have got much warmer for his Ducati. It set on fire once it had crashed, and then it almost scorched the marshals as well. So Capirossi riding his 2nd bike here, and perhaps that's the reason why he's down in 5th. Now then, there's a man down, that's Alex Barros in the gravel. So Barros, who was fighting with Jeremy McWilliams for 10th place, that's the right-hander at the end of the straight Barros has gone down in. And after missing the race at Donington 2 weeks ago after injuring his hand in the warm-up, Barros walks gingerly across the gravel, and that's another DNF for the Brazilian.
This is Jeremy McWilliams. What a performance by the 39-year-old Ulsterman, currently in 10th place on the 2-stroke. And there we are, Carlos Checker getting past Toru Okawa. This is a good battle between 2 experienced men, and Nicky Hayden is also right in there with them. And this is Okawa. Okawa up the inside. He finished 3rd last year. Carlos Checker, familiar number 7 on the Yamaha. But Okawa crosses the line now. Okawa 6th, Checker 7th. Nicky Hayden going very well in 8th place. 9th is Nakano, and in 10th place, Jeremy McWilliams.
Nicky Hayden was just having a look at the inside of Carlos Checker there, but decided not to make his move. 14 laps still to go. Not the time for anything silly, especially for a rookie like Hayden, still learning his way in the MotoGP class, the AMA Superbike champion. Hayden will be heading out to Japan after this race. He's going over there to contest the Suzuka 8-hour. He's going to be riding with Ryuichi Kiyonari, who's another MotoGP rookie for Honda, and that will be interesting to see how they go on. Hayden will be riding a Superbike very similar to the one that he rode to the AMA Superbike title in America last season. So big weekend there. Toru Okawa, another rider who's going to be going over to do the Suzuka 8-hour. But Nick, I think the gap there between Rossi and Gibernau is really closing up.
It certainly is. It's just about half a second now. In fact, it's below half a second. Gibernau is closing up on Valentino Rossi. Rossi made the early break. Sete Gibernau. We haven't spoken a great deal about Sete Gibernau this weekend. He qualified 5th fastest, 2nd row of the grid. Very consistent lap times, and he's very close now to the world champion Valentino Rossi as they cross the line with 13 laps to go of this 30-lap race.
I'm just down here at the moment in the WCM pit with Chris Burns, obviously the British rider, but he's not taking part this weekend. You had your first MotoGP race last week, Chris, but tell us just why you're not riding here.
As is also, unfortunately, I crashed at Donington, breaking my collarbone. I came here not knowing whether I should be competing or not. I'd done first practice, but unfortunately, with Sachsenring being such a demanding circuit, the collarbone's just not strong enough.
You've done it before, though, haven't you, that collarbone? You said it's just not bonding right this time.
Not really. I mean, I've done this 4 or 5 times before, and it's been 2 weeks now, but unfortunately, the collarbone it isn't healing quite as fast as I think it should, but hopefully it will be at the next one, no problem.
It's been a long time for you to get that debut, of course, but it's good to see you, to have seen you out on track, and it's been a difficult year for you all, hasn't it?
It has. I mean, for the whole team. I mean, it's been so hard, but it can't get any worse, so I'm sure next year we'll be pretty strong, and I'm looking forward to good times.
Yeah, looking forward to see you back in Brno. Thanks very much, Chris.
Thank you.
Sete Gibernau hunting down Valentino Rossi at the front. And that was Chris Burns there watching another MotoGP race from the sidelines after missing out through injury. But all eyes are on the battle now between Rossi and Gibernau. Gibernau riding the wheels off the Honda, Nick. Neither of these two were really fancied at the start of this race. You could never rule out Rossi, but starting from the outside of the front rows, had his problems in qualifying. Everybody was thinking maybe Max Biaggi, this was going to be his weekend. Gibernau, as I said, has never finished higher than 8th before here at this circuit. Started from the 2nd row, and it's between these two now for victory. And Gibernau is riding superbly.
Certainly is. The gap, well, just about half a second. You can see what the gap is. Valentino Rossi, he's led from the start. His great rival Max Biaggi made a bad start, came from absolutely nowhere, 10th at the end of the first lap. but since then came through the field, had just taken over third place from Troy Bayliss, and down he went in a big heat, and his race was over. Troy Bayliss doing very well indeed in third place. Marco Melandri fourth, winner of the 250cc race here in the last 2 years. Loris Capirossi 5, Turakawa 6, Nicky Hayden 7, Shinya Nakano 8, Carlos Checa 9, and Jeremy McWilliams, well, on that two-stroke Oxygen-built Proton KR machine, would you believe, he's in 10th place. But we ride with the world champion Valentino Rossi, the winner of the race here last year, and just behind him, you can see him clear enough, Sete Gibernau.
Gibernau just closing down, Nick. He took around 2/10 already on this lap. It will be interesting to see if Rossi has been able to open it out again when they cross the line. They come up now to the left-hander that brings them back onto the start-finish straight, and my bet is that Gibernau has cut even more time off the world champion. Let's see, they come across the finish line now. Gibernau with his fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:24.8 compared to the 1:25 dead of Rossi. Gibernau then taking 2/10 off Rossi on that lap, and look how close he is now. Rossi doesn't need a pit board to tell him that that number 15 is lurking behind him. These two Hondas almost identical, both factory machines. And Gibernau almost touching there the rear wheel of Rossi. It couldn't be any closer, and over the last 11 laps, it's going to be really interesting to see if Gibernau can... Well, we've seen him in the wet, Nick. Gibernau at Le Mans and at Assen, he showed that he really knows how to ride a motorcycle in different conditions. Also at Velcom in the dry, where he was really motivated, unfortunately, by the death of his teammate Daijiro Kato. But this is really the first head-to-head we've seen between Rossi and Gibernau in the dry conditions, if you like, a direct face-off.
Certainly is. What a face-off it is. Rossi, we thought, had got away from the pursuing pack. Well, the pack went down with Max Biaggi. But here we are. We ride with Sete Gibernau, the man in front of him, the man who won the race here last year. As they go down the dip, they break for the left-hander. Favoured overtaking position, certainly in the 125s and the 250s, and now in MotoGP. Little short straight. Gibernau just sniffs up the inside there of Valentino Rossi, lets him know he's there. He'll try and pressure him. This, of course, what Valentino Rossi loves to do when he's in second place to the men in front of him. He won't be fazed by that, but Gibernau goes past. There's nothing Rossi can do, or can he? He thinks about trying to outbreak him around the outside. Sete Gibernau leads the German Grand Prix here at the Sachsenring with 10 laps remaining. What has Valentino Rossi got in reply?
Just seeing Sete Gibernau go past there, what many people might not see is that Sete Gibernau's running a different spec Honda to the one Valentino Rossi's on. He's got the one with a shorter exhaust pipe that helps with the mid-range power, which will probably help around this Sachsenring circuit. Now, Rossi ran that a couple of weeks ago and in Assen, and he didn't like it. Gibernau's inherited it, and it seems to be doing the business here at the Sachsenring.
Well, that mid-range power you're talking about there, Gav, so important here. Half of this race is run with the throttle half closed because it's so tight and twisty and there's no real fast corners. It's all these slow left and rights, mainly lefts, as you can see. Gibernau there just tipping his Honda over this, as they come round the back section of the circuit, and then they come over the brow of this hill, and then they come down into one of the few right-handers down the hill. Hearts in mouths times as they get to the bottom and onto the brakes. It's Rossi up on the inside as they tip it left. Gibernau shuts the door though. The crowd roar, and the Spaniard hangs on to the lead, sliding the back of that Honda as he powers back up the hill again. Another left-hander to negotiate as they come back up the hill and onto the start-finish straight. This circuit undulates and drifts. Fausto Grassini, the team manager for that Telefonica Movistar Honda team of Sete Gibernau, and Ryuichi Kiyonari watches on. His man leads the race with 9 laps to go as they tip it right and then sweep back down towards the back end of the circuit through this tight and sweeping section of S's, Nick.
Well, any thoughts, I think, that that Sete Gibernau had that he'd get past Valentino Rossi, which he did quite comfortably, and then pull away, have been firmly dispelled, haven't they, by that lap. Rossi's hanging on to his rear tyre. This is going to be a battle to the flag. 8 3/4 laps remaining of this very tight 2.281 Sachsenring circuit. Absolutely packed, 125,000 people. You're seeing the best riders in the world, the 2 best riders in the world at the moment. They're first and second in the World Championship, fighting it out in the sunshine. Sit back and enjoy it. It doesn't get a lot better than this. Valentino Rossi second, Sete Gibernau first. This is going to be a battle to the checkered flag.
On board with Rossi as they come down that roller coaster downhill section. You can't really appreciate just what that's like, unless you can either stand next to it or get down it on a scooter and really feel how this circuit just drops away from underneath you. It really is. It's like being on the Big Dipper at Blackpool, and Gibernau and Rossi really enjoying it out there. Good friends off the track, great rivals on it, and I tell you what, Nick, Gibernau with 3 wins already this season. Rossi's only got 3 wins as well, and Gibernau would close the gap on him significantly in the championship, and he would have the psychological upper hand, having taken 4 victories compared to Rossi's 3.
Rossi wants to win this one, doesn't he? He really wants to win this race from second place at the moment. 7 3/4 laps remaining. They're in the twisty, naddery part of the Sachsenring circuit. Not really suited to MotoGP machines, but these two make it look so easy. Back down the hill, another left-hander. We've seen the demise of Max Biaggi. He started from pole position, he got up into 3rd place, and then he crashed the Honda without injury. Troy Bayliss still in 3rd place. What a ride by the Australian. Rossi just sneaks a little bit up the inside, then drops back. Melandri 4, Capirossi 5, Okawa 6, Hayden 7, Nakano 8, Checker 9, Jeremy McWilliams still flying in 10th place, Olivier Jack 11, Norik Abe 12, Nobuatsu Aoki 13, Makoto Tamada 14, and Colin Edwards 15th.
Looks like Rossi's going to have a look at the inside again at the bottom of the hill. He doesn't make a move. He's not quite close enough this time to Gibernau, but that will be one of the favourite overtaking points for these two riders as this race goes on. As we were saying, the first section is so tight and so twisted that there's really only one racing line to take, and it's so hard for the riders to get past each other. But going down that hill into that penultimate left-hand corner, it's the ideal opportunity for overtaking on these MotoGP machines. You get the space, you get the opportunity, and it's going to be close going into there over the final few laps.
Jerry Burgess, team manager for Valentino Rossi's team, looks on. He's seen it all before with Mick Doohan and Wayne Gardner. Sometimes you like a good scrap with lots of riders at the front. Sometimes you just like an out-and-out duel, don't you? This is like 2 boxers standing it up in the ring and slugging it out. They're slugging it out all right. And it would take a brave man to forecast who's going to win this one. 6.5 laps remaining. Sete Gibernau still leads the way, the 30-year-old Spaniard from Valentino Rossi. Bayliss still 3rd, Melandri, Capirossi and Hayden. But I got to tell you now, all eyes focused from this massive crowd on these 2 riders at the front. Just a little bit of a wiggle there from Sete Gibernau. You've got to expect that as the tyres start to go off.
That's a real group there, Nick, behind them. Melandri, Capirossi, Hayden, Okawa and Nakano all together, all lapping within about 2 seconds as we watch Rossi again at the bottom of the hill. That's where I was talking about before. That's going to be an absolutely key point to the way this race swings over the last few laps. I was just saying that the fight for 4th place is absolutely flying between Melandri, Capirossi, Nicky Hayden riding superbly well. He's on his way to his best finish in Grand Prix in 6th place before he goes out to Suzuka to ride in that 8-hour endurance race. So there's plenty of racing for this 125,000 German crowd to enjoy here at the Sachsenring.
But I can tell you, they're all watching this. This is the head-to-head. They're coming up now among some back markers. This has been a problem in the 125s. It's been a problem in the 250s. We have a faller.
Marco Melandri from 4th place crashes out. That means that Nicky Hayden moves up to 5th place. Capirossi is up to 4th. Hayden up to 5th. Okawa up to 6th. So Melandri from the front of that group was perhaps just pushing a little bit too hard. And for the 2nd successive race, Melandri impresses but ends up in the gravel.
This is Troy Bayliss in 3rd place. Great ride by the 34-year-old Australian, and Gibernau still holds off Rossi. Now, we have a Suzuki in trouble.
John Hopkins there, the Anglo-American rider on the Suzuki, started from way down the grid. He's had technical problems with his Suzuki all weekend, and I'm not sure if that's a mechanical problem or if he's actually fallen off. It looks as though his bike's exploded there.
Hey,
Nick,
I think that's mechanical.
I think that's, you can pretty much say that. And we're watching Gibernau and Rossi go past one of the Kawasaki's there.
This could be a problem here. The circuit is so short that they do get amongst the back markers. Now, is Rossi happy to be where he is at the moment? Would you want to be leading the race going into the last lap? Would you want to be leading the race going into those 2 left-hand bends that bring the lap to an end? I'm not sure. I think Rossi, again, has just shown his hand, but again, is quite content to sit there. He's going to make his move perhaps on the last lap. As always, he'll probably prove us completely wrong and go straight through and win the race. But I don't know, because I think you don't want to be leading the race perhaps going into the last lap. You want to wait to those last two left-handers. That's so important. There is Loris Capirossi currently running in 4th place. Nicky Hayden is having the ride of a lifetime in 5th place. His first look at this circuit also, the American AMA champion. He went back to Japan to ride the Superbike in preparation for the Suzuka 8-hour race, and it's really given him that little bit of confidence that we ride with Sete Gibernau. Right behind him, the man of the moment, Valentino Rossi. 4.5 laps to go. These two are slogging it out at the front, and it's still Gibernau that leads the way as they go round the left and start climbing the hill.
Well, Nick, we've had 4 different winners from the last 4 races in MotoGP. Rossi, Capirossi, Gibernau and Biaggi. And this will be the 5th successive race without a back-to-back winner. Well, Rossi up on the inside of Gibernau there, but again at the bottom of the hill, Nick, he doesn't make his move. And it does seem as though you're right, he might wait to the last lap. We'll wait and find out. But
he's sizing him up, isn't he? He's sizing him up at this left-hander all the time. Gibernau will know that. And Gibernau probably is not inviting him through, but just showing him the way through. But when they come to the last lap, Sete Gibernau will probably make life a lot more difficult than that, and perhaps ride a slightly different line to stop Valentino Rossi coming through. 4 laps remaining. They're round the right-hander that brings them onto that 4 laps remaining. Down through these twiddly, nasty bits of the Sachsenring circuit. Bright sunshine. Sete Gibernau, the 30-year-old Spaniard, chasing his 4th Grand Prix victory of the season. Valentino Rossi, the 24-year-old superstar Italian, chasing his 4th Grand Prix victory of the season. Rossi leads the championship by 34 points from Gibernau. Psychologically, this would be a massive victory for the Spaniard if he can do it.
yeah, you're absolutely right, Nick. As I was saying before, we've seen him win in the wet and in another, let's say, special conditions. Now, head-to-head in the dry, if he knows he can beat Valentino Rossi, that will give him a huge confidence booster for this second half of the season. We have a 3-week break after this race before we go to Brno in the Czech Republic. Then we go to Portugal. Then we fly away to Japan, Malaysia and Australia before coming back to the final round at Valencia, Sete Gibernau's home round, where he won his first ever Grand Prix 2 years ago riding the Suzuki. That would be a massive round for Gibernau if it was still all to play for. He looks over his shoulder. He knows where Rossi is as they come across the start-finish straight. Cat and mouse now with 3 laps to go. Rossi stalking Gibernau. Gibernau moves wide, perhaps just inviting Rossi to go past him, but Rossi doesn't even try to make a move. He doesn't even show him the wheel. Rossi without a victory in the last 3 races. It's his longest dry spell for 2 years. Well, a relatively dry spell. He's not been off the podium for 14 races, but when you talk about Valentino Rossi, victories just seem to go hand in hand with him, but it's not been the case this season. And Gibernau, if he wins today, will have more victories than Rossi this season.
We ride with Sete Gibernau. We ride with Valentino Rossi. Rossi's sizing him up. I'm sure that Rossi will get past him at least once, but can Gibernau fight back? Rossi again up the inside, just lets him know he's there. He's pressured Max Biaggi like on doing this before. He's pressured Sete Gibernau in Estoril. I remember Gibernau leading the way and Rossi pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. In the end, Gibernau broke and crashed, but he holds firm at the moment. They're almost joined together, these two, aren't they, as they race down the hill. Now, this is where Rossi likes to go up the inside on the brakes. Sete Gibernau once again quite content to lead his way through. 2.5 laps remaining. Little short straight now from this difficult left-hander that brings them back into the start and finish straight. These are going to be 2 hectic laps. Sete Gibernau leads the way as they cross the line now. Valentino Rossi in second place. It's between these two. Who's your money on?
You asking me?
Yes.
Rossi. I have to say, I think, well, we always seem to go with Rossi, but it's so difficult to bet against them. It would be nice to see Gibernau win, but I just don't think you can bet against the doctor. But let's not forget, this is an important race for Rossi for the championship, but also, as it's been made very public in the press over the last couple of weeks, he's also negotiating a new contract with Honda. Rossi wants to extend it for 1 year. Honda wants him for 2 years. There's talk of him switching to Ducati. And Rossi reckons he will be signing for Honda, but probably it's going to take another 2 or 3 weeks to sort it all out. And really, this is going to help Honda in any negotiations to have another one of their guys beating Rossi. Rossi without a win for the last 4 races. And Honda might be saying, look, you know, you're the one who should be making allowances for us and not the other way around. But Rossi will attack over this last 1.5 laps as they come down the dip. Once again, Rossi up on the inside. Will it be on this lap? Rossi on the brakes at the inside of Gibernau. Gibernau shuts the door. Well, was he trying to get past him there?
I think he was really thinking about it then, and I think if the door was open, he'd have gone through. Into the left-hander. Uphill. Here comes Valentino Rossi. Oh, he's made a little bit of a mistake. Now, can that mistake cost dear? The gap a little bit bigger as they cross the line. He made a mistake there, Valentino Rossi. Perhaps Gibernau has got the advantage. 1 lap to go. 2.281 miles. Can Sete Gibernau hang on? Valentino Rossi is now right behind him. The 30-year-old Spaniard against the 24-year-old Italian. Rossi leads the World Championship. Gibernau is 2nd place. The gloves are off. The crowd are loving every minute of it. 3/4 of a lap to go. Sete Gibernau leads Valentino Rossi. If he's going to make his move, he's got to make it very soon indeed.
As you can see there on the top left of your screen, Nicky Hayden has got past Loris Capirossi and is now up to 4th position. That is an excellent ride from Nicky Hayden. Then it's Ukawa in 6th and the Carno 7th, Checker 8th. But these two will slog it out for the victory now of this final lap. The horns toot and the crowds roar as Rossi gets right on the rear wheel of Gibernau.
Around the left-hander, they're going to have this very fast right any moment now that comes into the downhill section. Here's the right, 4th gear, 130, 140 miles an hour, 150, 160. Rossi's well placed up the inside. Rossi's going to outbrake Sete Gibernau as they go into the left-hander. There is absolutely nothing the Spaniard could do now. Can Rossi hold the inside advantage? 1 bend to go between victory and failure for the 24-year-old Italian. He's safely through. What a performance by Valentino Rossi. Valentino Rossi is going to win the race. Sete Gibernau's alongside. Who's winning? Sete Gibernau has done it. Oh, we were celebrating with Valentino Rossi. Sete Gibernau came through to pip him. 1:25.360, 1:25.190. Sete Gibernau has won the German Grand Prix here at the Sachsenring. A great ride by Troy Bayliss into 3rd and Loris Capirossi 4th. What a ride by Sete Gibernau.
Yeah, Gibernau just took a different line, Nick, into that final corner. He just swept it wide as Rossi took the inside line. This is them coming over the start-finish straight, but the way that Gibernau did it was he went a little bit wider into that first corner to get a tighter line on the exit, got up on the inside of Rossi, and then just got his head down and opened that throttle as wide as he possibly could. What an absolutely stunning performance from Sete Gibernau. Well, our money was on Rossi. I thought once he got past him into that penultimate corner, he was going to hang on, but Gibernau pulled out all the stops, and the look of disbelief in the garage of Valentino Rossi.
Congratulations, Sete Gibernau. It really does not get a lot better than that.
The gap between Gibernau and Rossi, 0.06 seconds. 600th of a second between 1st and 2nd.
Here is Valentino Rossi making his way back to the start and finish area.
Well, he's not stopping for the crowd this week, is he, Nick?
He certainly isn't stopping for the crowd. Let's watch it again. There you are. He sweeps around the outside, then comes in very tight indeed. Sete Gibernau. Rossi knows. Rossi's looking. Is nothing he can do. Great ride by Sete Gibernau. Tremendous inside line after sweeping from the outside. And he wins the German Grand Prix here at the Sachsenring. His 4th Grand Prix victory of the season. And that was a superb performance. World Championship positions, Rossi on 187, Gibernau 158, Max Biaggi crashed out on 130. But that, without a doubt, is the finest ride of his career. Sete Gibernau, the 30-year-old Spaniard, has upset all the critics. He's done it again. He's won more Grand Prix than Valentino Rossi this season. He's blown the World Championship wide open. And it really does not get a lot better than that.
There's Nicky Hayden on that number 69 Honda, just disappeared from the picture. He finished 5th. He was just beaten on the last lap by Loris Capirossi, but nevertheless an excellent ride from the American youngsters, getting stronger as this season goes on.
Well, we'd have lost our house, wouldn't we? We'd have lost our mortgage. We had the money on the wrong man. Rossi, you'd thought, had planned it to perfection. Down the hill, 2 bends to go, up the inside of Sete Gibernau. Perhaps he went 1 bend too early. I think we said that we always knew that at one stage of the race, Rossi would get past Gibernau. He did, but Gibernau got past him. Congratulations also to Troy Bayliss, the 34-year-old Australian. First time he saw this circuit was on Thursday morning, and he's finished 3rd. And, well, I think disappointment from Valentino Rossi. You don't often see Valentino Rossi looking so disappointed. He'd normally look at the camera and give you a smile. No smiles this time from the doctor, from the world champion, and this is why. Sete Gibernau has beaten him absolutely fair and square.
Just a quick word for Jeremy McWilliams, finished the race there in 12th, so good points for the Proton team as they try and get their V5 Porsche truck back on track in time for Brno in 3 weeks' time. Colin Edwards also picked up points in 14th, as did Kenny Roberts on his return to action after missing 3 races through injury.
I think he's pretty pleased with himself. No wonder why. Oh, Lawrence Capirossi looking on.
I think he's just explaining his pass on Nicky Hayden there on the last lap, and isn't he? He must be with that smile.
What a roller coaster of a season it's been for Sete Gibernau. He lost his teammate and his friend Ruggiero Cato after that dreadful accident at the opening Grand Prix of the season.
What a ride from Troy Bayliss as well, though, Nicky, into 3rd place. We've almost forgotten about him there on the Ducati.
Yeah, as I say, first time we saw the circuit was on Thursday morning. The Ducati, you would imagine, isn't the easiest bike to ride around this type of circuit, but he showed just what a great rider he is. Oh, and
I'm just with Juan Martinez, obviously chief mechanic for Sete. Juan, absolutely superb ride from Sete there, and although it might not have looked before qualifying that he was going to win, he's come out with the good.
Yeah, so the thing is, this kind of races is very difficult to say, you know, because it's just a little bit of pace what makes the difference. So I think this is what Sete could do today, just following Valentino at the end. They try to play around, just trying to look for the victory, but the only thing I can say, I'm very happy.
Okay, thanks very much, Juan. Cheers for that. Well done.
I was just about to warn Troy Bayliss' mum, if she's watching down in Australia, that he's got a pretty radical haircut there underneath that helmet, and then we just caught a glimpse of it there, so I hope it didn't shock you too much. Nicky Hayden there, the young American with another former American star, Randy Mamola. Almost said Randy DePunya then. Randy Mamola working for TV down in the pit lane. What a ride it was from Hayden, 5th place. And as I said before, really starting to show some promise.
I've just caught hold of Troy Bayliss' eyesight, so I'm just hoping to get him over. Troy, he's just coming over. He's just going to go and congratulate his mechanics in there, just giving him a pat on the back. An absolutely radical haircut he's got here this weekend, completely shaved head. Looks like an absolute psycho, if I could say it. Troy, fantastic ride for you, and great to be back on the podium at a circuit you've never even been to before.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a little bit up and down lately, but the last couple of races have been okay. As soon as I arrived here, I sort of enjoyed the circuit, and everything went quite well, but the last third of the race was very difficult. I was getting a lot of slides, and just need to work a bit harder with the overall setup, try and make it a little bit more easy to ride, because at the moment I've had it.
Is it something to do with the aerodynamics from that radical new haircut you're sporting there this weekend?
Yeah, well, a little joke in the hospitality, but hasn't made me much faster, but it's nice and cool anyway.
Great to see you back on the podium here this weekend. Now from here it's just going for that first win, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd love to have a win, you know. I've won lots of races in the past, but nothing in MotoGP. But I'm still only new to the class, and hopefully it's going to come sooner or later, but you certainly have to work hard for it.
Congratulations today, Troy. Thanks very much.
Thanks, man.
Oh, he certainly worked hard for it, didn't he? Troy Bayliss talking there to Gavin down in pit lane. A fantastic 3rd place on his very first visit to the Sachsenring for the 34-year-old Australian. Sete Gibernau has won the German Grand Prix. A fantastic race with Valentino Rossi. Let's watch it again. It was a great start by Rossi and a great start by the 2 Ducatis.
Yeah, they're so quick off the line, those Ducatis have such great acceleration, but it was Rossi on the inside line who was latest on the brake and took an early lead. We lost Noriyuki Haga early in the race on the Aprilia.
But at the front, well, this is the battle for 3rd place between Troy Bayliss and Max Biaggi. And he made it life very hard for Max Biaggi. Biaggi after a bad start, starting from pole position, but then Biaggi crashed out of the race. just when he'd done all the hard work, got up into third place. He cannot believe it. And then the battle started at the front, and Sete Gibernau started to stalk Valentino Rossi. Dived up the inside of him, into the right-hander, and took the lead. Rossi not too unhappy to be in second place, because he knew it was going to come down to a last lap showdown, and it certainly did. Gibernau still leading the way. Rossi has been sizing him up at that left-hand bend here, and this is on the last lap. There's just one bend to go after this. Everybody thought then that Valentino Rossi was going to win the race. He tips it into the left-hander. Gibernau comes wide, then cuts in the inside of Valentino Rossi and just gets the Honda in front. His 4th Grand Prix victory. What a win for Sete Gibernau. He can't believe it. He's won the race here in Germany, and he's beaten Valentino Rossi.
There's Fausto Grassini, team manager for Sete Gibernau, celebrating with the rest of his team and the Italian journalists in Parc Ferme as they await the arrival of the MotoGP riders on the podium.
The victory podium awaits Sete Gibernau, Valentino Rossi and Troy Bayliss. What a MotoGP race. Wonderful weather here at the Sachsenring after some quite appalling weather on Thursday. Threatened, I think, the very future of the Grand Prix. It rained so hard, but Gibernau, Rossi and Bayliss. But surely the finest performance of his career for the 30-year-old Spaniard, Sete Gibernau, as he pipped Valentino Rossi on that very last bend to win the his fourth Grand Prix victory of the season. And he's won more Grand Prix than Valentino Rossi in the year 2003. And really not many people can say that over the last 5 or 6 years of Grand Prix racing.
Just talking about that move of Sete Gibernau, what an absolutely fantastic bit of tactics there, because Rossi closed the corner, went in very quickly in there, and Sete basically stood it up, went in, broke hard so he could just accelerate out that corner, basically squared the corner off much more than Rossi, who went in there fast, and absolutely superb piece of riding, and I think you're right, Nick, he can notch it up as his best ever victory.
The roller coaster season continues for Team Grassini. Started in tragedy with the loss of Daijiro Kato at the first round, but they've had so many high moments to celebrate this season, and it's another high moment in the career of the shaven-headed Troy Bayliss. The former World Superbike champion takes his 2nd MotoGP podium at the Sachsenring.
In second place, the world champion, the championship leader, the 24-year-old Italian, Valentino Rossi. Oh, he's not happy, is he? He is not happy at all. I think he thought he'd won that race. He didn't win the race. He still leads the World Championship. The reason he didn't win the race was because of a 30-year-old Spaniard by the name of Sete Gibernau.
Fausto Grassini, his team manager, raised the loft in Parc Ferme. Gibernau, absolutely exhausted, climbs onto the top step of the podium for the 4th time this season to celebrate victory at the German Grand Prix. There's his teammate, chief mechanic Juan Martinez.
Rossi knows him well, doesn't he? He used to be his suspension mechanic.
That's right. Juan worked for Showa last year, and he was Rossi's ringleader on the Sunday night parties, and Sete Gibernau was never too far away either, so there might be a few beers tonight, but by the look on Rossi's face, he won't be joining in the dancing. Troy Bayliss accepts the trophy for his 2nd podium position of the season so far on the Ducati, despite never having visited the Sachsenring circuit before this weekend.
Valentino Rossi finishes 2nd here at the Sachsenring, receives his trophy, holds on to his lead in the World Championship. But he's only won 3 Grand Prix this year. His legion of fans applaud him. He's disappointed. His team are disappointed. But certainly the man that is not disappointed with his performance here in Germany this afternoon is the winner of the German Grand Prix. His 4th Grand Prix victory of the season is the 30-year-old Spaniard, Sete Gibernau.
Center, Gibernau.
Gibernau, as always, dedicating his victory to his late teammate Daijiro Kato, that number 74 on the breast of his leathers. For the fourth time this season, we listen to the Spanish national anthem. So Troy Bayliss in third place celebrates his second podium of the season. It's a 15th consecutive podium for Rossi, but he's conceded defeat today for the fourth time this season to the Spaniard, Sete Gibernau. Gibernau moves to within 29 points of Rossi at the top of the MotoGP standings. After 9 rounds of this 2003 season, the second half of the season kicks off with victory for Gibernau. We now have a 3-week break, a chance for the riders and fans to get their breath back before we return at the Czech Republic, the Brno circuit, just up the road from Sachsenring here